Hello, everyone. Hello. Good to see you guys on another episode of Business Level Up. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait for a while for people to stream in, all right? But, yep, glad to be back. Hope you guys enjoyed the previous session, the last one with Julian. After that, I had a lot of people messaging me asking about e-commerce questions, all right? So, yeah, but hey, if you guys can hear me or everything, once again, just type in yes, type in hi, type in say something so that I know that I'm going across loud and clear, all right? So, but good to see you guys once again. Today's session is very interesting. We have, I think, our youngest ever guest, youngest ever. So yeah, I find it to be very inspiring actually because, man, when I was his age, hey Alex, hey, good to see you. Yeah, when I was his age, I don't know what I was doing, man. So this is a super young entrepreneur, one of our, our youngest lah. So okay, good. We are loud and clear. All right, guys, let's begin. All right. So today, I was looking around for people to interview once again. I tell you, I want to find people who are really doing well or doing something interesting during this period. If you guys have any recommendations, do type in the comments. Let me know as well. Link me up and things like that. And today's guest is very interesting because I was actually interviewed on his show or his podcast rather. And we were talking about it, and I was like, hey, why not ask him to join us on the show as well? And he is super young, okay? He is actually he's still studying in university. He's studying business. He's doing business in SMU. He's actually 23, and he's already the COO of this company called Sekoni Original, all right, which is actually a Kickstarter watch company. So very, very interesting. Very young chap, a lot of things. And I tell you, he's only I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, but he's only 23. Okay, so God knows what I'm doing when I'm 23, but deciding to run a company at 23, together with his friends, together with his colleagues and all. So there's lots of things I want to ask him. If you guys have any questions, also do type it in, and let's just just ask him. I mean, it's very, very interesting. It's 23 or I think at least a decade ago away for me, all right? And also one more thing, just to let you guys know, he's part of the newer generation. So they don't do Facebook Live as often, all right? So please be gentle with him, all right? Next time you scare him off, he don't dare to come back again. No lah, he's actually very cool one. All right, so I'm going to invite him up without further ado, all right? So let me bring him on. Okay, introducing to you guys Marcus. All right, Marcus, say hi to everyone. Hello.
Hi everyone. It's really an honor to be on this thing, and it's actually my first Facebook Live event. So thank you, Zachary, for giving me this opportunity. Like he mentioned, right? Facebook isn't the most common platform that we people use nowadays. Like we are more on like Instagram and other things, and maybe TikTok. I think TikTok is the one that's really hot now. I'm Marcus. I'm COO of Sekoni Original. It's a company that was actually founded by my friend. And after he ran everything, his Kickstarter campaign, and then I joined him soon after. So I've been working at it for about half a year now. And yeah, as what he mentioned, I'm still actually studying, and we've been managing both sides. Awesome. It has been difficult, but yeah, it's a very, very nice journey to be on.
All right. Hey, Marcus, I mean, just to let everyone know, some of them might not know what is Kickstarter all about. So maybe you can explain to them the concept of Kickstarter so that they are familiar with it.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So, as I mentioned, my friend actually ran a Kickstarter campaign to kickstart the whole brand called Sekoni Original, and because as young, when I say young adults, young adults ourselves, right? We don't really have the capital to actually pool a sum of money to start our own business. So what Kickstarter does is allowing the consumers to actually provide us with that. We call it like pre-order sort of sum, where we go on a Kickstarter when you support a campaign, right? You get that amount to actually launch and manufacture these goods. So what Kickstarter is essentially a platform where you can gain the sum of money that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. So that's what my friend did. That's how he kickstarted the campaign, and he's a very brilliant chap. If there's the opportunity, I think you would learn a lot more learning from him, like how he went through the whole Kickstarter process. But I think he planned it very well, executed well, and then eventually the brand managed to raise more than 50K even in his first campaign. So
Yep. So it's guys, this is quite amazing. So Kickstarter is this crowdsourcing thing, like what he mentioned. And as uni chaps, right, most of the time not all the time we have a lot of backing, financial backing, right? So I think what I love about Marcus and his friends is that they are both very resourceful. I mean, they may not have 50K at the back of their pocket in their bank accounts yet. They haven't started working, getting the capital, but hey man, they were resourceful. They went to look for crowdfunding, crowdsourcing kind of websites and things like that. So Kickstarter is just one of them. There's many others, Indiegogo and things like that. But yeah, man. So they use the money from the crowdsource, and they managed to create their own brand of watches, right? Own brand of watches. And so now I think they have some future plans to get the second batch of watches or something like that. But it's amazing. So, but I think one of the most interesting things to all our audience here who are tuning in today, I just wanted to give a shout out to David Lee. Thanks for being a very nice audience. Alex, Burnett, and whoever, if you guys are there, just let us know that you guys are there. Just type in some comments and say something. Say hi to Marcus as well, right? So what happened is that I think it's very interesting for them because like I know Burnett also runs her own store, things like that. So there's many business owners. So I think for you to be an entrepreneur at this age, 23, still studying, right? Wow, like what are some of the difficulties or some of the struggles that you're faced with? Maybe you can share with us.
Yeah, definitely. I think compared to a lot of people out there, I definitely wouldn't claim to be the best yet. I'm still learning a lot of things. And I think that's one of the biggest issue that we as young entrepreneurs face, which is like the lack of knowledge and even like life experiences in general, right? We haven't been through a lot of things. And that is why we don't really know what we don't know. I think that's a phrase that's said very often, but I think it's very true. Like until you go out there and you do it, right, you don't really experience it and you wouldn't know what will hit you. So that is something that we are struggling with. It's a lot of learning on the fly, and at the same time you have to execute as well, right? So it's really balancing between not really knowing what's going on and then you trying to find your feet and then you're still having to execute, and hopefully everything works out. Sometimes there's a bit of luck in that aspect as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think what you mentioned, right? Even though you say like, oh, it's because I'm young, I'm inexperienced, but I mean, let's look at Gerald. Gerald was saying they get younger and braver, right? The truth is that I think because Gerald also runs her own business and whoever the rest are tuning in, I can tell you, every person who I've met is running a first own business at the start, they all say the same thing as you, even though they might be older than you, 10 years older, 20 years older, but at the start it's still inexperienced because I think, I mean, nothing against your school, okay, and my uni as well, but no amount of education actually prepares you to run a business. Don't you agree?
Yeah,
so,
that is really true.
Yeah, so I think the lack of experience and the lack of knowledge, I think while it's true at 23, it will be true at 33, it will be true at 43, as long as it's your first business. So yeah, I think it's not too bad. But I mean, more interestingly is how do you overcome this? Like, I mean, you the good thing is you acknowledge it, right? You know that, hey man, I may not be the most experienced or the oldest, but how do you overcome this lack of knowledge?
There are a few ways we try to work around it. So for one is like looking to people around us, right? So for instance, like Zachary, you're very experienced in like strategy or whatever, and through the podcast as well, we bring on people with experience in different fields, and from there we really just pick their brains. I think that's what I sort of use the podcast for as well. Like bring on people that I want to speak to and then ask them the questions that I would otherwise ask other people. And really try to build a community of like mentors of some sorts around us to give us that guidance, because they will have gone through it themselves. And I would think it's also more of like just testing it out. You never know what will work until you actually go and try lah. Like even now I'm dabbling a bit into Facebook ads, right? And until you run the ads, you wouldn't know whether it will actually work lah. So that's one thing. So yeah, but really just putting a lot of emphasis on not just improving the business, but on myself as well, making sure that I read more books, I read more, attend more courses and things like that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a habit. It's a great reminder, because I think when I was younger, I was very hungry for knowledge as well. So I'll attend courses, I'll go speak to experts, whether it's experts in the form of mentors or people ahead of me, or but I see what you do there. So sneaky of you to find all the people to interview on podcast, but brilliant idea as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's learn from this, our future of the future entrepreneur of Singapore. But I think it's like, yeah, this is really what you do. Or when you don't have the thing, you just go get the resources. And this attitude of learning, I think sometimes even at my age, at I'm not very old, I'm 30 plus, but no matter which age I realize that the situation keeps changing and we got to keep learning. What you learn at 23 may not be true again at 33, and probably 10 years later at 43, I'm sure it's no longer Facebook, right? It's maybe TikTok marketing or whatever, and we just got to learn again. So it is this attitude of learning, and I think I love what you say, getting mentors, going for training, but I like the way that you are always investing in yourself lah. Like, yeah, I can see that there's a very strong emphasis on self-investment, self-learning to grow. So yeah, awesome. So wow, that is yeah. Hey, by the way, guys, if y'all are getting lots of learnings or y'all feel inspired, please type it in the comments. Please thank Marcus as well, and let show him some love. All right. Okay. So I think that is one of the challenges that you face, right? And then what other challenges you face? You mentioned something about your team, things like that, right? Something about management, especially while you're in uni. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about that struggle?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that because the whole brand started as a traditional sort of watch kind of brand, but what we're trying to do is trying to create the next series of like hybrid smartwatches. So we need to develop the software, and what we did was we onboarded a bunch of friends to work together with us on this. So dealing with friends, right, it's a bit tricky at times. So, and with the whole COVID situation, we had to manage them remotely. So that's one of the real struggles that I'm facing currently, because you need to balance between like friendship and work, and as well as managing them remotely, so you don't really know whether they are facing any issues and everything. So I would say team management is really a very, very big thing, and it's very important, because if your team members are not feeling motivated, right, then the project wouldn't move as smoothly as you expect. But with regards to how we are dealing with it, I think what I'm trying to do on my end is being more aware of these issues and making the conscious effort to actually speak to them on a personal basis. So what I mean by that is like I will allocate maybe like a 30-minute time slot to go and speak to them. Not just about work lah. Like we already talk enough about work. It's more of like, oh, how are you doing today? Like, are you facing any struggles, or like how's the progress in like the work or anything other than that lah. So it's really a very open chat, not just work based. And I've tried it a few times, and it actually works. Like when we have like weekly meetings, right, and then we will raise like roadblocks and things like that. But then when you speak to them personally, then some other issues will somehow surface that wasn't surfaced during this kind of meetings. So yeah, I think that title really says it very well, which is I believe in over communicating rather than under communicating, especially in this remote working space, right? Sometimes you can get very sucked into work, and then you just like zone out and just focus on your own work. But I think it's important to still motivate your team and make sure they're all doing well.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially during this COVID period of time where everything is done through a lot of text. I think I have WhatsApp so often during this period for work. I mean, not that the usual days I don't do that, but I have WhatsApp, I have Zoomed, I have sent more emails than I can ever remember. And I realized that, yeah, a lot of communications, the nuances are lost virtually, and sometimes I would say what is this text wise, and sometimes it leads to a lot of misunderstanding. I mean, if I meet you face to face with the tone, with the, you can see the smile, you can see that everything is so much smoother. But when it's just over WhatsApp, sometimes you lose all this tone, and then people get either misunderstood, or you under communicate, or you miscommunicate, misrepresent some stuff. And yeah, so I do agree with you that, well, day to day we need to over communicate with our team, but during this period it's like over communicate. Yeah, true. So yeah, so you just to understand, you are working remotely with all your friends right now. So everyone, how's your meetings like? Zoom or
Yeah, we
what
usually do
happens?
it through Zoom lah. But then now that the restrictions are sort of lessened, right? We try to organize like weekly or bi-weekly meetings as required lah. So most of the time we're still working on our own at home, but we have meetings and we will have and nowadays we're trying to incorporate physical meetings as well. It's always nicer to see your friends from time to time, right?
Yeah.
Working, it's been too long. I've been like cooped up in home for too long. It's really nice just to go out and just like speak to people and get
Yeah,
a bit of
yeah.
interaction.
Totally agree with you, man. I think even for ourselves, I think the last time after that, when circuit breaker phase 2 was released, was kind of like reintroduced. We're like, hey, we meet, we're doing some stuff. Then after that, no one wanted to go home. Everyone is just talking and really just catching up with each other. But yeah, awesome. You know, yeah, Gerard say now you can. Oh yeah, working with friends are tricky. You cannot openly scream at them. Yeah, but yeah, does it work speaking to them, talk until saliva dry, but still unmotivated? Okay, interesting. Yeah, yeah. So how do you balance talking to them and I mean, working with friends is tricky. It's one of the most enjoyable things I personally feel, but it's also sometimes like, you need to get them to do some work when they don't do the work. So
Yeah, definitely.
how do you do that? Any tips or anything?
Yeah, so like we mentioned, right, when we first started out, or rather, I really didn't know of this sort of like processes you can put in place, like goal setting and whatnot. So initially, it was definitely a bit difficult because we had a lack of planning in terms of like setting goals as well. So over time, we realized this issue, and then we sort of set up this system where we set goals for ourselves to hit. So of the OKR system, like objective, key results,
Yes.
sort of
Okay.
concept. So that
Maybe you can explain that to our
so it's
audience as well.
actually a framework used by a lot of top companies. I think Dell was the one that introduced it, but Google uses it as well. So it's a key objective that you try to hit maybe over like a quarterly basis, and then you break it down into objectives, main objectives, and then key results that will help you achieve that objective. And these objectives these key results has to be very quantifiable, so it's easier to track, right? So this was a system that we tried to put in place so that everybody knows like a very specific goal to hit, and it has worked pretty well in that sense because we are clearer of the kind of stuff that we need to hit in terms of our goals. And then when it comes to our meetings, we just identify these goals and see whether we hit them, or if we didn't hit, what can we do, or like why we didn't hit them and how we can improve moving forward. So I think this is one of the main things that we tried. Of course, initially we didn't know lah, so it was a bit like testing here, testing there. But I went to research a bit. I found this framework quite interesting, and I think it's not bad. Yeah.
Yep. So for all those people who are working with friends, or this is not only for friends, or say this is also sometimes those people working with family. I know family business are one of the hardest to run, right? So of course we always used to set. In fact, by the way, I must say, Marcus, you're very high tech already. Not high tech. You're very advanced already. So last time, in fact, before OKR, they actually used this thing called KPIs, key performance indicators. Then after that, they realized that key performance indicators, there are some limitations and all, and that's where I think I don't know which company. I think you mentioned Dell, right? So they came out with another, instead of KPIs, they came out with OKRs. So they set the objective and key results, and they feel that this helped to grow the people much more. So for those who are having difficulty managing or working with your teammates and stuff like that, not because they are difficult, okay, but sometimes it's relationships are always difficult sometimes. I mean, so it might be your friends, it might be your family, might be extended family, or all things like that. This OKR thing might be your saving grace. All right, wow, Ben. See, even we are all learning, even from the youngest people. So I think it's really amazing that I love to talk to young entrepreneurs because they use a lot of groundbreaking concepts or they take the newest and then
No, lah,
so sometimes
this is not anything new. It's just applying what has been.
hey, I tell you, it's not new to you or not new to market, but for some people, especially the older entrepreneurs, right? Sometimes they are very used to models that have been working for the last 20, 30 years. And especially in this day and age, right? What works 30 years ago might not work now. So yeah. So guys, awesome. If you guys have any more questions, thanks Gerald for the question. If you have any more questions, please type it in as well. All right. So yeah, I think we're talking about the difficulties, team management, and you're telling us about OKRs, having more meetings, more catch up. Yeah. So I think also one thing that I want to ask is that I think Sekoni original, you did well, right? So what gave birth to that success, or how did it take off? Why did it do so well compared to other Kickstarter campaigns that didn't do so well?
Okay, so I think most of the credit for this part will go to the founder because he was the one who ran the campaign. And even on Kickstarter, right, actually not all projects gets funded. So if you go to Kickstarter app now, right, it will only show you like probably the magic ones, which are the ones that do very well. But not a high percentage of projects actually don't succeed. But I think why my friend was able to do it was really having a very clear plan and executing it very well. And one interesting thing that he did at that point in time was because Kickstarter are usually all run online. So you get funding from people who support you through online pre-orders. But what he did was he actually ran a physical event, a live event in I think Millennium Walk or something like that, where he invited people down and people actually get to wear the watches and test them out. So that helped to boost his how I say, like people actually got to try the product, so that helped him in a way.
Okay, the chance to experience the product.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and I think this is quite an awesome idea because especially for those people who are doing their own e-commerce stores, maybe whether it's Vanette, Julian, and a few others that I know you guys are there, right? Yeah, so I think giving the customers the chance to experience your product is a very powerful thing, especially online. I mean, now that circuit breaker all comes in, right? We know that experience part is lost. Last time we can go into a retail shop and check out things, then don't like, you can you test the watch or test whatever, then you don't like it, you just leave it right? But now these days most of the shopping is done online, so sometimes you're like this picture, it's like AliExpress, right? You buy something, you come out slightly different. So I think giving people the chance to experience the product is quite amazing. It's quite important, and I think perhaps and I just wanted to acknowledge that the fact that you guys your founder as well was innovative to try this, because this is a little bit of a hybrid kind of model. So Kickstarter is online. Yeah. So I know that there are some shops that did this as well, like I think in Plaza Sing or something like that. They'll sell, their shop is bought online, but they always put some of the products in some retail pop-up store or some outlets for people to be able to see. But if you want to buy, you go back online to buy lah.
Yeah, there's actually this Kickstarter shop called We the People. They specifically carry Kickstarter goods. So a lot of Kickstarter brands actually place we are also placed in these physical retail outlets. So it's a company where they started to specifically feature all these kind of Kickstarter products.
I see.
But yeah, I think moving back to that event, right? I think what was interesting was also because he held the countdown to the opening of funding during the event. So so he opened already, right? Then there was like a screen which showed like the money coming, not money coming in, the people who were funding the project. So it sort of created a hype as well. So
the pledges. See the pledge. The people pledge money to it. Wow. Okay. What this founder also into showmanship one, Cool. I think So I think new platforms require new methods lah. There's no shortcut to it. A lot of testing, very innovative of you guys. So credits to you guys there. And I think I actually, now that you mentioned, I think I did see some of this live Kickstarter shop. Millennium Walk, I think I do see them. I think I also see sometimes Tanjong Pagar, International Plaza level 1. Sometimes they have it as well. So it's always quite interesting to see like, oh, this is because when I go Kickstarter, I see a lot of theory, concept, nice videos, but you never get to see that product lah. So so I think wow, putting your product there. But just curious, right? How was the whole sourcing of product and things like that? Was it difficult or what was it like? How was the experience like?
It's definitely a process. Even now, we are still trying to figure out the manufacturing and supply chain side, because when COVID hit, the supply chain is sort of affected,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
But it's something we are trying to figure out moving even into our next series. Is something that we will be looking into soon, because what we did last time was the founder actually flew down to China to actually look through all the goods and everything. So now we can't travel, obviously, so we have to see how we can adapt accordingly.
Do you imagine when you started running a business, you have to do all this nitty-gritty operations? I mean, usually people always think that run a business is like you're the CEO or COO. You're like, oh, very nice, shake hands, meet people, do a lot of glam marketing, right? But over here, then when you really start running, you realize that, oh, I need to do all this manufacturing operations, fly to China, meet the people. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this, man? Was it like a shock to you when you first found out about it?
It's definitely a lot of things to handle at once. Even now, when I think back, I honestly, I don't know how he managed to do it by himself as one person. I mean, he had a team helping him during the campaign, but he ran most of it himself. And it's really learning. I'm really learning a lot of things. When you first join a company, you don't really know what to expect, right? But coming into it, now I've learned across like marketing, operations, finance, even HR, right? Like managing people.
Yeah.
So it's really something that you definitely won't learn from school, unfortunately.
Yes.
And it is really a very nice experience. Whether it works out or not, I think what's more important is the lessons that I've managed to take from this.
Yeah, I think there's no school for business. Sorry, there's no school for that teaches you how to start a business as well as good as starting a business itself. That's the best way to learn. Yeah. So and what you mentioned is not new to me and not new to many of the people that I spoke to. They say like, when you first do a startup, then you started doing the marketing, you started doing the sales, you started doing operations, you started doing everything. So it's quite hilarious. But that's life of startup, guys. Life of startup. Yep. Okay. Okay. So one thing is that I think so at this point of time, since COVID stuff like that, I'm just curious. So what's next for you guys? I know you mentioned a little bit about starting another round of funding for another campaign for watches. And what's next? What's up currently for you guys?
Yeah, so honestly, sales has been pretty slow due to COVID. But then we are just using this time to restructure our company of sorts. We're sort of going through a rebranding. My founder is taking care of that, and then we're trying to grow our like organic channels, which was one of the reasons why we started a podcast to sort of like gain brand awareness and gain a better standing in the community. And on product wise, we are developing the next series, which is the hybrid watch lah. That one is going slowly, which is understandable because you have to develop the software and you need to use the hardware and everything, right? So there's been hiccups along the way, but my team is pretty capable, so I'm confident that they will be able to pull it out. It will just take a bit longer than expected lah. So I think those are the main initiatives that we have for now.
Hey, but what's new, man? There's always hiccups in all startups, all entrepreneurial journeys. There's always hiccups. So I think what differentiates the successful entrepreneurs, between those that are not successful, is how they overcome the hiccups. Because in every business you start, there is definitely hiccups, I can tell you. I mean, who figured that there's going to be a COVID situation, right? So yeah, but the people who overcomes it are the ones that come out on top. So yeah, so I think the past few I interviewed also, yeah, so it's they overcome it and they came out on top, and I'm very, very happy for them, and I'm sure you will too. So yeah, excited. And you mentioned a little bit about the podcast, right? So maybe you can tell our viewers like what's with the podcast, the name of the podcast, and yeah, what's the objective, so maybe they can jump in and check it out as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we started it, I think, in mid-June. It's called Learning with Young Leaders. So back then we were trying to see how we can not just rely on paid marketing to grow our reach, right? So we thought of a podcast as a very brilliant idea in terms of we can connect with different people, we can give value back to the community. So what we wanted to do was the whole concept is we actually interview people, which was how I actually got to interview Zachary as well, from a few introductions here and there. So through these conversations, we actually try to see what are the journeys they went through, and specifically for people who are a bit lost during their uni days, still young, still trying to figure out what they're doing, how they can actually do so by looking at these stories of other people who have gone through the same path. So we have a very broad range of people we invite on the guests. So there has been like consultants, bankers, entrepreneurs, marketers, a very big range. And from there, we try to see what makes them passionate about what they do, and in some cases, what they even do on a daily basis. So that gives a very nice glimpse into what they might expect in that certain field. And yeah, so from there, we learn as well, and the wider community learns as well. So we thought it was a really nice touch, and yeah, it's been doing well so far. Hopefully, I get to interview a lot more brilliant guests and learn from them as well. Like what I said before, I get to pick your brains and learn new strategies as well.
Yes. So guys, this is his version of networking and doing lead magnets. All right. So brilliant though. Because you're one of the few that I know that have their own podcast, and definitely I think the youngest one. So yeah, how's the process of running a podcast like? Is it difficult, or is it how is it like? Because I realize the podcast culture is not very strong in Singapore yet, right? But I think in America it's like So yeah, how is this whole process like? Maybe you can let our audience know.
Sadly, it isn't the most prominent in Singapore yet. I think it's going to be changing soon, hopefully, especially with the COVID situation, right? But when I first started, one problem was getting guests onto the podcast, because when you're new, right, people don't know about you. They might not be inclined to go onto your podcast as a guest, lah. But I think I was quite fortunate in the sense that when I reached out to people for them to give me connections, they were very happy to introduce me to different people. And what I do is I usually ask every guest after every episode, like whether they could give me a few introductions. So from there, I've been able to grow the reach. But there's a lot of nitty-gritty things that obviously you wouldn't foresee coming, right, when starting the podcast. So initially what I did was I manually texted everybody, tailored message, but over time I sort of systemized things a little bit. Now I have a form for people to just fill up. It's easier on my end and on their end also, so they get a very nice picture of whatever they might go through during the episode as well. So yeah, just improving along the way. And it has been really nice. I got to meet a lot of new people, and I get to listen to a lot of different perspectives. So if you want to meet people and meet brilliant people, I think a podcast is a very nice way to do it, because instead of like reaching out and say whether I can meet you for a coffee chat, right, you're saying like, can you feature on my podcast so that you can be known to a wider community. So that's a very nice tweak in perspective right there that will make people like, oh, I can get featured like as a guest on a podcast,
Yep. All right, guys, are you all learning this? This is a very smart branding tactic. All right, and it's good for you to. Yeah, I think what you mentioned is true, because to meet you for coffee, they're a bit like, oh, this guy's a stranger, I don't know him, but hey, to be featured on his podcast, it's like, wow. So it's a little bit of branding and marketing there. well done, very very brilliant move there. And I think yeah. So if you guys want to check out Marcus his podcast, right? Just check. I think it's available on most of the places, right? Spotify. You can just go search
Spotify,
"Learning with Young
Apple
Leaders."
Podcast. Yep.
Yeah, just type it in. You can find all the interviews that he did with other brilliant people. Yeah, so wonderful, wonderful. Who knows? One of you guys might even be featured there. Just reach out to him or get him to come look for you or
Yeah,
whatever, lah. But
if you're interested, definitely reach out to me. I will be happy to
yeah,
speak to you all.
yeah, but yeah, I think you got me started on some ideas. Like, wow, podcast is actually quite a good way to reach out to people. All right, fantastic, fantastic. So just right now, this is quite a chill and easy session. I also didn't want to do too many things to scare him. It's his first Facebook Live after all, guys. So do you have any questions? Keep the questions coming in. We're just going to chat a little bit more. Answer any questions if you have. If not, I'll just ask him some of the things for some thoughts lah. I mean, I'm not sure about you guys. I'm learning a lot for myself because wow, podcast, branding, marketing. Wow, this is so useful. So any questions, please type them in. All right. And let's just give them a bit of time because there's StreamYard has a little bit of lag. But hey man, so just curious, right? So now that while waiting to see if they have any questions. So once school starts, right? I'm very curious because right now it's a summer break, right? So so once school starts, how are you guys going to manage this work and school thing?
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be tricky. The previous sem we actually had sort of a taste for it because we were participating in competitions here and there to actually get to know one another better as well. That's what we did. But we haven't really had like a full-fledged semester with managing both sides. It'll be interesting, definitely. But moving into the sem, we have sort of we try to align everybody in terms of what we expect of them. Definitely, we can't ask them to neglect studies altogether. But
if business do well, no need to study already.
If only.
Aye.
But yeah, so it's communicating that expectation and back to the goals part, right? Is really just maybe a bit more lax in terms of like giving a bit more buffer, but having that goals and hoping that we can hit those goals and then we can tweak accordingly. It's definitely interesting, but based on what I've asked many entrepreneurs in my podcast as well, they always say, like, I always ask them how they balance between work and studies, right? They just say they don't, basically.
I think one thing, just to let you know, right? One thing I respect is that people who start something in schools, it's I mean, very few people go to school and start something while they're there, right? Most of them, they just come out and then they start after they come out, after they got a little bit of capital, and that's what I did as well. But those people who start in schools, I think that it takes a certain amount of discipline, a certain amount of grit, but those that eventually make it bigger. I noticed they all have this streak, even while they're in school. I think the last one of my last employers that I work with, right, actually started the company when they were in school, and it's quite amazing. And yeah, it is why they grow so fast and so big, because the majority of learning is in school, you see, as compared to when you're working and stuff like that. So it's a little bit trickier. So if you think studying and starting a business is tough, wait till you're working and starting a business. It's even trickier. So yeah, I think it's quite amazing. Alex has a question. Is there a risk from others getting the same product from the same manufacturer and undercut you? So this is quite a particular Kickstarter thing. But I think perhaps would you like to answer this question? Yep.
Yeah. So okay. First thing is that usually people wouldn't disclose where they get their products manufactured, so it's not the easiest to find out whether it's from the same manufacturer. But I think this one, another aspect of it really comes down to branding, right? If your brand is solid enough, even though a competitor might sell it cheaper than you, they wouldn't run from your brand, lah. Like if your product is something that just because someone else sells it cheaper, then other people will buy, then I think your brand is not that strong. So that's that's something we're trying to work on, which is building up our brand as well.
Yeah. Actually, if you guys have seen the watches, I think I've been targeted by your Facebook ads or something like that. So they are like, I know there's a tidal wave or moon design at the
Tidal
back,
moon phase. Yeah.
tidal moon face thing at the back, right? So yeah, I think if it's a generic one, if it's a generic watch, of course, you can very easily AliExpress it from somewhere else. But what happens is that they did design it, they did brand it, they did make changes in it, and that's why it makes it stand out, and that's their branding. So if you love the tidal moon face, love those with watches with very nice case backs, right? Yeah, you'll get from them and you won't get from somewhere else. So it's really finding out your own brand, your own specialty, which is yeah, it's something that is here for all businesses. Like, I think without a brand, right? You're right. Alex, you're right. People will just go for the cheapest one, and other people just come and undercut you, lah, right? It's like, oh, if you're selling something so generic without a brand, without something special, everyone just if I go on to like I think Julian also mentioned. Julian was our e-commerce person interviewed last week as well. So yeah, without a brand, right? Everyone goes on, let's say Lazada, Amazon, or whatever. They'll just find the cheapest thing and then they'll buy it. So I think the importance of a brand is so important, especially for items like watches, where watches is a little bit stylistic, a bit of a jewelry item and stuff like that. So yeah, you have to have your own style one. So yeah, don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I love Gerald. Gerald very funny. She always like, oh, old people need to catch up, and things like that. But hey, that's life, man. Yeah, that's life. Yeah. So yeah. Any other questions? Just keep it coming in. Maybe I wanted to ask yeah, if there's any questions. I think if not, one of the things I wanted to ask you, right? I think for a young person who's starting off in while you're in school, and then it's yeah, is it do you how's the risk like? Is it scary? Is it like I know some people say starting in school is a bit low risk, right? But yeah, what's your take on it? Is it better to start businesses in school or while you're working?
Okay, that's interesting. I think I can't speak for everyone, but personally, I feel like it's a good thing to start in school because firstly, you don't have to worry about your living expenses. In that sense, right? Like when you're studying in school, you are allowed in a sense to take more risk. And what's nice about the ecosystem nowadays is that there's a lot of competitions that encourage this sort of stuff. So as a student, right, you gain access to the competitions where you can take part and win money. And there's also a lot of incubators in the various schools as well. So what my team did was we actually applied for the SMU incubator, and then we got granted access into it. Then there's a lot of resources for us to get lah, as opposed to after you start school, right? Then you have to worry about like making your ends meet, as well as making sure that your whole business runs off, right? So by starting in school, I'm giving myself that runway to like figure things out first. So like what you said, right? The learning is done in school instead of once I go out and start a business eventually.
One of our audience say prefers to start while working because don't need to worry about money and exams. Okay lah, no matter where you start, you have to worry about something one lah. You working don't have to worry about money. Actually, you do have to worry about money, but in school you have to worry about exams lah. So and mom snacking. Yes, that's right, Jara. So yeah. But I think in a way, yeah, there's no right or wrong in this. I was also thinking whether to start in school or what. I mean, but the good thing is I did a lot of preparation while I was in school, learning and things like that. But some things you only learn when you go out into the starting a business proper lah. So no long, no short, but I think main thing is to be resourceful. I think it's amazing that you managed to take the school's resources, right? Incubators, the networks and things like that. Even your friends are also, everyone is, there's a lot. I think when you're in uni, you get to meet the most number of people, and that's where you really get to see all the different skills. Meeting people after you start work is really a little bit harder. I must agree on that. So yeah, who knows? So guys, some of y'all, I mean, okay lah, I think to inspire you guys, hey, even school student, right, who's busy studying with exams, with mom's nagging, can start a business, right? I think, we have no excuse, really. All right. So thanks for being an inspiration to all of us, Marcus. So, So before I end this thing, I want to ask, do you have any last words or anything you want to say to all the people out there who are listening, tuning into this right now? Yeah, anything to inspire them and motivate them, or what about this
Yeah,
business journey of yours?
sure. I think there's a lot of excuses for why someone wouldn't start a business when they're younger, or like now, in even like, you can tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I still need to learn more. But I think at the end of the day, right, I think you can testify to that also. Like, until you actually start, you also wouldn't know what you don't know, and just starting it will expose you to this sort of like blind spots that you have, and from there, then the real learning begins. That's my perspective.
So I mean, whatever you said, man, is true. The real learning starts when you actually start a business. So might as well do it as early as possible. All right. So amazing. Hey, thank you very much, Marcus, for joining
Yeah,
us on today's interview. So guys, if you have any questions, do continue to comment. We'll try to reply to whatever questions you all may have. Do check out Marcus's podcast as well. I think I believe I posted there as well. Learning with Young Leaders. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. This is a young chap. He's still studying, but running a business. Really kudos and respect to him, man. 加油 for your exams still. But but hey, fantastic. Thanks for joining us on today's interview. All right. So hey guys, just signing off. I'll catch you guys next week again with another interesting guest of ours. So thanks everyone. Bye. Bye, Marcus.
bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.